This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
The Love Tuner is a revolutionary breathing and meditation device that combines a simple yet profound breathing exercise with a 528 Hz frequency, bringing you into a state of instant relaxation. The Love Tuner is a stylish necklace that comes beautifully packaged in an elegant premium gift box. Pull the Love Tuner out of the cap and place the rounded side with the engraved Love Tuner logo between your lips. Blow into the Love Tuner gently, like on a flute, to create a smooth, long note with a constant volume. You can make the note last as long as you like. After exhaling, inhale through your nose, allowing air to flow into the center of your body. Just leave the Love Tuner between your lips as you inhale, and then exhale again with the next note. Repeat as long as it feels good. We recommend at least 6 breathing cycles. After tuning, enjoy the silence and your fully tuned state of being. Caution: love tuning may cause miracles.
You've seen and read my 3 Pillars ebook, and now I'm proud to announce my new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship, and it's now out and ready for reading. This new book of mine is a full-length version of the teachings of the 3 Pillars, and in it I show you how to walk in the integrity of eternal universal laws, in step with the law of attraction to consistently create the life you desire. Now, if you've ever wondered just why you can't consistently manifest all the good, loving, abundant, healthy, and happy things you desire, my new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, will reveal the key in how to do just that. Plus, help you build a rock-solid personal foundation that will stand strong for the ages. Get your copy today. My new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship, by Carl Gruber. Available now in ebook and paperback on Amazon.com. Hey everyone, welcome once again to World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment. I'm your host, Carl Gruber. Now, with this episode number 227, this show continues its nonstop quest to seek out and understand all things outside of our visible 3D world, and how all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening play a far more important role in our daily lives than most of us believe. Now, before we head off to meet today's guests, let me remind you that you can now not only watch this show on YouTube, but you can now also watch it on the brand new TV network, New Reality TV. And make sure to hit the subscriber button wherever you catch this show so you don't miss a single episode. All right, off we go to meet our guests for today's show. We welcome Alexander Dunlap and Vicky Scudderi, who are sacred strategy guides for the game of life. They teach that the ordinary deck of cards is a mirror of the solar year and a perfect mathematical reflection of Earth's cycles. That sounds super interesting. Now, through the source cards, they help people decode their soul's game plan, align with purpose, and play their cards right in life. Alexander is a Harvard-trained philosopher, former Wall Street consultant, and best-selling author of the book Play Your Cards Right, A Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. And Vicky is an intuitive healer, founder of Source Healing, and a graduate of the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. Now, together, they blend masculine and feminine wisdom to guide people into true soul alignment. Much needed here on planet Earth. So with that, hey, welcome, guys.
Thank you so much, Carl, for that beautiful introduction. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely introduction. We're excited to talk with you today.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Well, I think you can see this is a real passion of mine, and I know what you do is a pure passion for you. But, I have to say that I've had well over 200 guests on the show who are masters and teachers of all things spiritual and metaphysical, but I've never had anyone on the show that teaches that an ordinary deck of playing cards can be a life changer for anyone. So, but first, let's find out about you two. From what I read, Alexander, holy mackerel, you've had an extraordinary journey in life so far. Can you give us a life journey?
Sure, it is, and it has been, and continues to be an extraordinary journey. And often when I share my full story, which I won't do today, I'll give you the Cliff Notes, but the full version, people tell me it's the most interesting life story they ever heard. My whole journey to find eventually the real meaning of the playing cards hidden in plain sight. It started for me with a spontaneous spiritual awakening when I was 17. I grew up Roman Catholic and didn't mean that much to me. That experience when I was 17 propelled me, though, to want to figure out who we are, why we're here, what this is all about. I'd done well in school, so I got into Harvard and I was studying philosophy there, looking for answers in the great philosophers. But I also became a born-again Christian during that time, accepting Jesus into my heart as my savior in that classical tradition. So that was my first foray into what is this all about and why are we here? The juxtaposition of studying philosophy at Harvard and being a born-again Christian at the same time. From there, though, my journey took several twists and turns. I went to Roman Catholic seminary. I thought I might want to be a Catholic priest. I went back to the religion of my upbringing. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, I also worked on Wall Street as a consultant, so doing the corporate thing. I started exploring out of bounds a little further. I started trying psychedelics, various recreational drugs. Then I traveled to India and was meditating all day, living in ashrams there, still looking for answers. Who are we? Why are we here? What's this all about? When I came back from India, through many twists and turns, I ended up co-founding a holistic health center. I became raw vegan for a while. I was doing ayahuasca ceremonies, still looking for answers. Then when I got divorced, the first time, Vicky is my second wife, I'm very happily married, my life partner. The day after I got divorced, I was getting divorced, I went out to a party in Brooklyn and somebody shared with me, oh, what's your birthday? They did a little math in their head and like, oh, it means you're born to play the 9 of hearts. It means in this life, you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart and you're going to have to learn how to let go and move on. And it was such a synchronistic moment in my life, given that I was going through a divorce, to hear that my life path was one that would have tragic endings of the heart and I would have to let go and move on. It was a big deja vu kind of moment for me, and the air got thick around me and my knees buckled for a moment. There was not at the time very much written about the real meaning of the playing cards, so I started exploring it and studying what I could. Then it was through my own, you could say, realizations, revelations, through the ayahuasca ceremonial work that I was still doing at the time, that the real meaning of these cards came through. How they were once known as the Book of Life, we'll get into that in a minute, and how they come out of the Tree of Life as all their meaning emerges out of the Flower of Life and the Tree of Life. So it's a visual symbolic language that shows us the meaning of life on Earth, who we are, why we're here. It also shows the structure of our space-time matrix. It shows the building blocks of our reality. It's symbolic of the sacred geometric forms and the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical code that are, again, it's the foundational building blocks of reality. And it was all hidden in plain sight, persecuted by the church in the Middle Ages. It tickles me. I was studying to be a priest at one point, Now I'm practicing witchcraft according to the same church. But that propaganda was so effective in the Middle Ages that even today, 600, 700 years later, people are still wary of these cards, and the real meaning still hasn't fully come out. That's how effective that propaganda was that the church did in the Middle Ages. But starting in 2012 with the Mayan prophecy, the real meaning is starting to come out. And I believe, and we believe, Vicky and I working together as a husband and wife team, we believe this is the tool that will help us all evolve in our humanity on this planet. It will take our human consciousness to the next level. It represents a fundamental paradigm shift in our awareness of our being, that there are 52 factorial right ways to live. You can get into what that means too if you want. We've all learned that there's only one right way to live. That's the narrative of biblical monotheism. And even if we're no longer biblical monotheists, literally, we all still carry that assumptive framework that there's one right way. If we disagree with that, then that leads us into moral relativism, where it's kind of a mishmash of, well, what is the right way? Well, it's whatever you feel. That's kind of the new agey approach. But there is actually a real framework that we can utilize that takes away all the guesswork, that shows us exactly who we are and why we're here. It gives us our own unique roadmap, and it shows us when we may be off our game or on our game. So it does give us a moral yardstick, but it's unique for each person. So this paradigm of the 52 cards gives us a complete framework for our being that helps us understand our reality, and it shows us how to be a better version of ourselves. It isn't just do whatever you want. It's how do you line up with the patterns of your cards to play your cards right. So with that, I'll pause. I've said a lot, but let me stop there for now.
I can just visualize some of the viewers and listeners at home. They just all of a sudden, like this big can of worms has been opened up from everything you just said. But whoa, you're the first guest I've ever had that went from being a born again Christian to doing ayahuasca ceremonies and hanging out with shamans in India. I mean, the movie of your life is going to be a hit, but people think it's science fiction or something.
Well, thank you for that. I actually do have an idea to make a documentary about my journey. Thank you for that inspiration.
You know, you should. I just recently had psychoacoustic healer Tom Kenyon on recently, and he did produce a documentary, and he uses it very well, and you should do something like that. But amazing, amazing, and we're just scratching the surface here. Of course, now we have to check in with you, Vicky. So you've experienced, you have much experience and talent as a healer, and I have a deep investment in healing. But I understand that you went through years of health challenges yourself. What were those health issues and how did you finally overcome them?
So it was my late 20s that I didn't get my period for 6 years. And I went to different doctors, and doctors couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And then it was my mother who found an energy healer. And she's like, let's try this, why don't you, try this? And I went for healing, and it was quite profound, the session, even in and of itself. It just was very deep. And the woman even said to me, I think that you have a gift for this, to do this with your life, to be a healer, an energy healer. She laid her hands on me, and it was, I can't remember the exact timing, but like maybe between 1 and 3 days that I got my period after the session. So that just really like catapulted me into the path of healing and wanting to know everything about energy healing and spirituality and what is God to me. And I grew up Catholic. And when I was really little, I would go to church. I had to go to church every morning. I went to Catholic school, and I would get nauseous every morning. Like somebody would have to bring me outside, really little kid. And, so something was there for me that was off, like I would get so sick being at church. But I still was wanting some kind of faith or God or something in my life. I was like, what is it for me? So I went on this journey of self-discovery, just working with all different, I would just go see different healers just to have the experience to see what they're doing. And then I would pick up on what they were doing. Like that was a big education for me, is just working with, hundreds of healers. And, it just took me on this extraordinary journey of self-discovery and being my best self and finding God in me. And then fast forward, I meet Alexander at a cafe, and he asks me right away my date of birth. These source cards that we're going to talk about, for this time with you, are all we have cards to play based on our date of birth. And so he asked me my date of birth, and he starts telling me all about myself in about 20 minutes. And good things and not good things, And I was like, wow, that's pretty, some of it was a little confronting. And I was like, that's a lot, that, based on, these cards and my date of birth. And we joke that like here I had spent up until that point, it had been maybe like 20 years of me, on this mission of searching and learning and evolving. And here he tells me in 20 minutes, all of the things that I've just learned for 20 years, So it's this magical template that, has all this sacred information about oneself. And it really cuts to the chase, actually. So it was pretty mind-blowing for me to learn about the system after having gone on that journey. And as Alexander said, now like we work together and we want to shout this information from the rooftops. It's just incredibly exciting.
It's a real vocation for us. We want to get this information out. This is open source information that nobody owns or controls. You can go down to your corner store, supermarket, and pick up a deck of cards. And once you know how to read it for yourself, then you know how to read your life. So it's for the people, this information, and we want to get it out for the people to have this information, because so many people are confused or stuck or hopeless, don't know what way, and looking around at the world around us and seeing the conflict and the confusion and the chaos. This is the tool that gives us clear guidance, and it's so simple. It's much more simple than astrology or human design or gene keys. I love those systems. I studied them all. But what I love about this system is its simplicity. And it's a tool for the people.
Well, I love how you two met, and I'll have to tell you, Vicky, I'm a long-time bachelor. I'm going to have to learn these cards because that's a great pickup line. Hey, let me tell you your birthday and what you're all about. And yeah, so I like that. But of course, now let's really dive in more into this ordinary deck of cards, which you call source cards. Well, I know there's more detail to it. I was looking at some of your book online on Amazon. You can read a sample. So if you want to give a little more details on, I'm not very good with math, but I don't think it's real complicated.
The math is not complicated. Do you want to do the math first, and then I'll say why we call it source cards?
Well, first of all, the system is an exact model of the Earth rotating around the sun. There are 52 cards in the deck. There are 52 weeks in the year, 4 suits, 4 seasons, 13 cards in a suit, 13 weeks in a season. If you add up the solar values of each of the cards, so the ace equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3, and then the jack equals 11, queen equals 12, king equals 13. If you add up all 52 of those values, you get 364. The Joker is the 5th element in a 4-part system. He equals 5/4, which is 1 1/4. And if you put that back into the deck, you get 365 1/4.
And it's as old as anything we know. People speculate ancient China, ancient Egypt. Nobody really knows how old this deck of cards is. But we do know that in ancient times, books did not have bindings. Like books of the Bible were written on scrolls and parchment, and they were still known as books. So this little deck that we think of as a deck anyway, which accurately represents the seasons and the cycles of our life on Earth, would have been known in ancient times as a little book of life. That's what it is. It's a little book that represents our life on Earth. It's a perfect mapping of the solar calendar. So this is what I realized in my own research, is that this deck of playing cards is none other than the same book of life that the Bible references many times, where we've all thought that was a symbolic or figurative or allegorical reference. It's actually a literal reference, in my opinion. The biblical writers were aware of this ancient text and knew it as a little book of life. So I believe those biblical references are referencing this deck when, for example, in Revelations, it says we're all going to stand before the throne of God and the book of life will be opened and we'll be judged according to what is written in this book. I believe it's a direct reference to these cards as we think of them. So that's also why when we were talking about what these cards are, to answer your question, we realized that the deck, this book, represents the source code, the programming language with which our reality is written. It is very literally, these cards are the source cards. They show the source code of our reality. And so hence the name, the source cards.
And two, it's so interesting. I mean, 99.9% of the people in the world just look at it's a game. The high rollers in Vegas are playing with these cards. Oh, I'm going to get $1 million, and they have no idea that they got the source of code of their life in their hands, and so yes, you could see how it was. I guess persecuted, but literally buried under the surface belief of what these cards were about. And I wonder if the church had anything to do, because we know the church was so powerful in suppressing anything that would take away their power.
Exactly. They called it the Devil's Bible or the Devil's Picture Book. That's how this book was referenced. Again, notice that it was called a book. It was called the Devil's Bible or the Devil's Picture Book. That's how it was persecuted in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I was going to ask about that. You're way ahead of me. That it was actually referenced in the Bible. I mean, they don't exactly say playing cards, but like you said, a book without bindings, actually.
Yeah. Well, the other place that the reference comes in is in the opening story, the famous story of Adam and Eve, that starting point of the entire sacred literature, where Adam and Eve are told that there are two trees in the garden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And they're told, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What's implicitly said is that you do want to eat from the fruit of the tree of life. We have a picture of the tree of life behind us. This is the same proportions as the Kabbalistic tree in the flower of life, if you're familiar with that pattern. When the tree is planted in the garden, it has the same exact proportions as this layout of cards behind us, overlaid onto the tree of life. What that biblical story is referring to, among other things, it's a richly layered story, so it has multiple meanings simultaneously. But one of the meanings is the tree of knowledge is actually the central nervous system, where you can visualize the spine, the spinal cord, and then the brain is the flowering. It actually looks like a tree. And the idea of the teaching is same as Buddha's teaching. If you're attached to your thoughts, you will suffer. So it's actually the same message in that original Adam and Eve biblical story as Buddha's teaching. Don't try to work out your life based on your own thoughts. Don't think that you can think your way into an answer. If you do, your life is going to be miserable. You're going to suffer. Don't do that. Instead, find your answers in the tree of life, which is, again, this layout map of cards that we have behind us on this poster board. So it's right there in the beginning of the biblical narrative. And it's right at the very end in the book of Revelations, which is interesting to me, that it's the starting point and the end point. There's this oblique esoteric reference to the real meaning of these playing cards.
Well, and as I mentioned to you, even before we started recording here, I'm a big student of A Course in Miracles. And in my mind, everything I've studied over the years, a lot of what you just said actually is in alignment with A Course in Miracles, non-dualistic spiritual teaching, in that, don't try to force or do everything yourself. Turn to your divine source and allow him to guide and direct you, and don't try to make every decision yourself. And in this 3D world, in this form of a body, that's hard to do. So that's why what you do and what I do is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just want to go back to again, for you, Vicky, being an intuitive healer and energy healer. How when you first found out about the source cards, how did you fit that into everything that you were practicing as a healer?
Well, one of my favorite topics is like the pip patterns. So, for example, this card is calling me. The Two of Hearts, we've taken the numbers off of the cards so that you can just see, this is what's called a pip pattern. So 2 hearts on the card. And this is a symbol and it has energy. So it's like, and it just occurred to me when you were talking about people who are gambling and how they have these cards in their hands. I never thought about it in that way, that they're receiving the energy from these symbols as they're playing. Like, I never even thought about that. So this is a symbol that has an energy to it, and that's very attractive to me. Like, you can meditate with these energies, and these pip patterns show you how to play the cards well. So the information is in that patterning.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely.
It is healing to meditate on the patterns, and that's actually to answer your earlier question of how I found this out and how I learned the information. I meditated on them. I got a deck of cards from a corner store. I whited out the corners where you have the number 2 or the little heart on the corner. So I used whiteout. We've since had our own deck printed, restored to the sacred geometric proportions, but you could just get a deck of cards from the supermarket, white out the corners, and then meditate on the symbolic pattern, and the meaning of it will come through to you. What does the 2 of Hearts mean? Just by meditating on it, you see the 2 hearts, they're opposite each other, and there's a space in between. That actually tells you what you need to know about the 2 of Hearts and how to play it well. Of course, I teach a lot of classes on this, but there's a simple explanation, and then we can unpack it in a much more richly detailed, layered meaning as well.
Well, I went to your website, and anybody can just go on and type in their birthday and find out what their life purpose is. I think you said that we could maybe do mine and find out what's going on with Carl here.
Absolutely.
So we looked you up based on your birthday.
I know to read.
And we did the look up here. This is my book, Play Your Cards Right, A Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. And your birth card, Carl, based on your date of birth, is the 6 of clubs.
Yeah, May 26th. Yep.
And then you have, as your personality card, the 6 of spades. So we all have 13 cards in our life path. These first 2 show the primary patterning of your life, which is like your life's purpose, and the secondary patterning, which is how you live your life's purpose, how you present that purpose to life, to the world around. And clubs is the suit of the mind. So your birth card is the 6 of clubs. And the spade is an acorn. And the acorn is the symbol of the pineal gland, or the third eye. So a quick overview of the 4 suits for your audience. The suit of hearts represents the heart, obviously enough. Clubs is the mind. It's a clover. It's a flower. Diamond, I'm pointing at my gut, represents the physical material layers of life, all the vibrations of life that have crystallized into a physical form, including money. And the spade represents consciousness, symbolizing the pineal gland. Because you're born into the suit of clubs, you're primarily a thinker, and you orient yourself towards your reality through your mind, through your intuition, through your knowledge. And the 6 is represented as 2 straight lines. So for you, it's about lining up your knowledge and getting thoughts into alignment. And that can mean that you're on a mission to set the record straight, to put straight the ways of the world. Because everything in our world starts as an idea. Our world is composed of ideas. Justice is an idea, democracy is an idea, money starts as an idea. Everything starts as an idea. Someone had the idea to make this microphone and this computer that we're talking to each other on. So being born to play the Six of Clubs, you're here to set the world in alignment with your own ideas.
You're here to realign our thinking.
I'm still working on my own, but that everything you say is absolutely true. And like anybody, my life, I've been out of alignment, and there are still on a daily basis moments where I'm completely out of alignment. But as I've followed my seeking to be enlightened and awaken, I have found that I'm more and more and more in alignment, and things with source, with my life and my purpose. I find that things just flow easier and effortlessly. Line 1 of page 1 of A Course in Miracles is there's no order of difficulty in miracles. And I think you find that out as you align with your divine self, your higher self.
That's exactly right. The downside of the Six of Clubs, which we didn't talk about, is you can get stuck in a rut.
Oh, yeah.
And you can overthink things, over-rationalize things. It's about, again, in the visual pattern shows that space between the two lines of pips. It's about keeping that space open for yourself so that you can channel and easily flow with the information that comes to you effortlessly, so long as you're willing to receive it and allow it to shape the direction of your thinking.
So anybody can just come to you guys and go to your website and have you work with them on their birthday?
Yes.
Well, that's simple. All right. Well, what is your website again?
It's thesourcecards.com.
And I will, of course, list that in the show notes and everything. Well, I'm interested too. I saw that you say that the source cards are what you would call cosmic correspondence. What is that?
Well, now we're going deep. Look,
Okay.
we're ready to go down deep in this one.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm right.
That's enough about me. Let's talk cosmically.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So these cards are a fractal map of reality. They're true at multiple levels simultaneously. So they're true for you personally. They show your life path, but they're also true for me. They're true for Vicky, all at once, simultaneously. They also are true for us all collectively. They show all of us collectively how to be in harmony with each other. They're also true at the level of what quantum physicists might call string theory. What are the vibrating strings that make up reality itself that we know? As far as I understand it, quantum physicists have proposed that there are 11 or 12 vibrating strings. I suggest, this is my hypothesis, that when they look deeper, they'll find that reality is composed of 13 vibrating strings across 4 quadrants. Which leads to the interesting question of somewhere, somehow, an advanced civilization, way more advanced than ours, figured out how to map the building blocks of our reality, that which constructs reality in our space-time matrix as we know it, and we're able to represent that and symbolize that in these simple patterns that are so simple that we don't even think that's what they are. We overanalyze and overthink, so much so that we miss the simplicity that's present. Leonardo da Vinci said that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Like Einstein's formula, E equals mc squared. Such a simple formula, but it says so much. These cards are like that, so simple that it's so easy to overlook them. And we have for hundreds, thousands of years. We've been playing cards and not knowing what we were playing with. It's a simple map and model of the very structure of our reality. And it's true on every level simultaneously in the macrocosm and the microcosm.
I find that interesting that you say that's some consciousness or race on an ascended level map this out. Doing what I do on this show, I've had many, many trance channels bringing through the Pleiadians and Arcturians and the Syrians and so many of, I mean, they're all incredibly wise and claim to be, different dimensions and higher levels. And why not? What you say, it sounds plausible to me.
This is my theory. I don't have proof, quote unquote, but my theory is that this knowledge was given to us by extraterrestrials.
Hmm.
My own hypothesis is that it's the mantid beings, but I don't know for sure. You may know from your other guests that likely human beings are a hybrid species that were created by the Anunnaki. I don't think the Anunnaki were advanced enough to know about the space-time fabric of reality. I think that required a more advanced set of beings. It could be the Arcturians or the Mantid beings. That's who I think it is, either one of those two species that saw the fledgling humanity, Homo sapiens, 300,000 years ago or so, and said, we're going to help these people, and we're going to give them this piece of information. What's interesting is if you look at the Sumerian myth, the earliest recorded stories that we have of our human history, they talk about tablets of destiny that were given to them by their gods, quote unquote. And at that time, there was no papyrus invented. So this information would have been on some kind of tablet.
Hmm.
And so I find that interesting that our earliest recorded mythology speaks of gods giving tablets of wisdom.
And you also mentioned something called the living matrix. Is this pretty much what we're talking about already?
It is. We're living inside of it.
Yeah.
Inside of this living matrix, we live and move and have our being. It's not alien to us. It's not like the movie The Matrix, where it's somehow a machine imposed matrix that's antithetical to our humanity. This is a matrix of being that supports our humanity, that encodes our humanity. And the way that we know that's true, and I've seen it, and we've seen it in our practice, is that when you start to consciously play your cards right, you get the blessings of life. The right people show up, you meet your soulmate, as I did in my story of testing everyone's birth date when I met them. We see people in their career, they suddenly get a promotion because it's all energy and we're vibrating energy frequencies. As Vicky said, each of these represents a vibrational frequency. When you start vibrating in alignment with your core signature pattern as represented in these source cards, then you put yourself energetically in the right place in the right time to receive all the blessings of your life. That's how we know that this is a living matrix that serves us and supports us. It's a benevolent matrix, and that we can rest assured that it's not some kind of alien matrix imposed on us for ill will.
Wow, who knew, even knowing what I know, that a deck of cards is so powerful and has such an ancient history. Um, oh, Maya's come to visit my buddy Maya.
Oh,
But anyway, let's shift gears for a moment and go back to your book, Play Your Cards Right, A Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. How did that writing come about for you? I mean, was it your way just to bring this to the world and help people understand it?
Well, thank you. It was a good question. This is an introductory level book that I wrote now 6, 7 years ago. Vicky keeps telling me to write a new book with more of my advanced ideas, and that's kind of on my docket to do. I wrote this actually because I didn't see a good introductory level book out there. So this is intended to be an introduction for people. And in since then, we together put the website together, thesourcecards.com. Thesourcecards.com also functions like an introduction, but it's interactive, it's digital. You can plug in your date of birth and get an instant reading of your birth card. So the book was intended as an introduction, and then we teach more advanced material in our classes, and I am going to soon write another book as soon as I can. We have a lot going on, but I would like to write another book with some of this advanced content we're talking about today.
There are people who use this system to predict the future. And I would say that most people who do know about the cards are using it as a predictory kind of system, like, what's your destiny, what's going to happen to you next year or next week kind of thing. And Alexander has gone in a completely different direction of like, this system is to empower yourself, to make choices, to have a fulfilling life. But to not be like, oh, what's going to happen to me then? Like I'm a victim of circumstance, or something is happening to me. It's you are creating your life through the awareness of knowing your cards to play and then playing your cards well. So it's a very different way of looking at it. And he channeled a lot of the information on like pip patterns and on these sacred images. And then, the book is a very basic overview of the life path of cards that we have to play and what each one means. And then, the high side, low side of things, as maybe you saw that on the website. That's when you go to the website to look up your cards to play, you'll see a very basic overview of like the high side and low side of each card to play. And so you have a choice of how to play it, and we're not victims. We create our reality with what we believe and the choices that we make.
I'm real glad you explained that because I was thinking, okay, I get those cards and I look up my birthday and okay, cool. Now what? But you can use those cards. How can you predict the future with it?
Well, we have cards in play, like, for example, there's a personal daily card. There's a card that's in play for 52 days. There's a card that's in play for a whole year for an individual, right? So I remember when I first learned this system, I had a reading with someone and they told me about my cards for the year. And my yearly card was the Ace of Spades. And the ace is about initiating new beginnings and also endings. Spades are about consciousness. And it could represent the ending of things, the death of something, the death of people, perhaps. But this person really alluded to that, like that this year, she's like, this year looks like, you might lose somebody really important to you. Well, that whole year, like in the back of my mind, there was this energy of like, oh God, like, or one of my parents going to die, or what's going to happen, or a good friend, or, like a fear around it. And it was like this low grade fear kind of just hovering over me because of someone telling me about like a card in play for my whole year, like a predictory kind of thing. And in the end, it turned out that I let go. There was some endings to my belief systems, to what I believed about life, to what I believed about even like predicting things, Oh, wait a minute, like I just put my energy into someone else's hands who told me something, that's not very empowering. So that's just an example of how like people can go down a rabbit hole of like when will I meet someone, when will this happen, and it's not, listen, I'm not like saying that that's a bad thing. A lot of people like that it works for them. That's not what we're doing. That's not how we're wanting to teach this, or that's not the knowledge we're bringing out into the world. It's about empowering oneself and utilizing the energy.
So I mentioned we have cards for life. I also mentioned it's a fractal system. You have cards for your whole life. We talked about your first card in your life path, the Six of Clubs. And then each year you get dealt a new hand of cards based on esoteric math. So these cards, your yearly cards, you could think of like your transits in astrology, roughly similar. And what people do to predict the future is they'll look same as you could do in astrology. Oh, I see in 7 months you have this planet coming into this house. It's going to mean this for you. People can do the same thing with these cards. Oh, I see that your yearly card coming up is the Ace of Spades. This was Vicky's example. Oh, the Ace of Spades, that could mean someone's going to die. And Vicky did not have that experience, but it was mildly traumatic for her to be worried all year if someone was going to die. When I first learned these cards, that's how I learned them. I learned them as a tool to make predictions of what's coming in your year. But what I realized quite quickly is that actually these are symbols that represent the vibratory field that is all around us and in us and through us in any moment, right now, in this present moment. They give us a lens with which to see our reality more clearly. It's a little bit like a meditative mindfulness practice, where in a meditative mindfulness instruction, you might be told, be mindful of your thoughts, watch your thoughts.
Mhm.
And that's a tool to help you gain more consciousness and more awareness. It's exactly the same with these cards. Watch the patterns, see what's present. Oh, I'm born to play the six of clubs, which you are. Let me see how this is playing out right now in this moment. How am I aligning my thoughts in this moment? Or maybe I'm not aligning my thoughts. Am I getting stuck in my thoughts? Or am I opening a channel of thoughts? It gives you a way to watch what's happening in the present moment, because you are not your cards. You
Mhm.
play your cards, and for lack of a better word, you're a soul. You're a soul playing a human game, and these cards show you the patterns that are present right now. And the main important difference that Vicky's alluding to is, if you're trying to predict the future, then you are literally going out of the present, and you're obsessed about some future outcome, and the future doesn't exist. The future is a concept. It's not reality. So by trying to predict the future, you go out of the present moment, where the present moment is all that's real. The only thing we have is the present moment. Trying to predict the future takes you out of presence. It takes you out of awareness. It's actually disempowering. It's radically disempowering. So what we're teaching and what we want people to realize is that this is a toolkit for awakening in the present moment.
And again, everything you're saying is in alignment. Eckhart Tolle says there's only now. Course in Miracles says there's only the eternal holy instant.
Yes.
But I find it interesting too, Vicky. You said that which we know well, especially those of us who study this, that we create our own reality. So in your case, when somebody said, "Oh, somebody might die," it says it right here. You grab onto it and you got disempowered by it.
Completely.
And you dwell on it, you're going to create that reality, right?
Yes. And instead, I could look to the positive side of what the Ace of Spades is. And I could say, oh, this year I have this Ace of Spades energy on my side, and I can utilize this energy to my benefit. And the Ace of Spades is about initiating new consciousness. So, what new consciousness do I want to initiate this year? And that's empowering.
It's the difference between seeing that we hold the cards and we can choose how we want to play them, versus the cards are some kind of predestination, fated outcome that's going to happen to us that we have no control over. And that's unfortunately what we see of people who do the card readings using the predictive kind of approach to reading the cards, is they implicitly deny your free will, and they implicitly deny your ability to create your own reality.
This may be offline, but is there any similarity to this in tarot cards?
Yes and no. They are completely different instruments of knowledge. They seem like they would be related. People who like tarot cards like to think that these cards are a derivative of the minor arcana. And I don't like to run afoul of the tarot enthusiasts, because people really love their tarot, and I've had some fabulous tarot readings over the years. But these cards represent, as I said, the building blocks of reality, the space-time matrix. The tarot cards represent the archetypal stories of humanity. They show us the patterns of human behavior. These cards show us the building blocks that build those stories, the sacred geometric patterns that go into building the archetypal stories. These cards are prior and before tarot cards. Again, tarot enthusiasts would see it the reverse. But we know that these cards have to be older and deeper than tarot cards, because they're buried deeper in the recesses of our consciousness.
Hmm.
If you were to excavate you go to an archaeological site and you're excavating the layers and layers of the civilization, which is the oldest layer of the civilization? It's the one that's buried deepest.
Mhm.
The real meaning of these playing cards has been buried far deeper than the meaning of tarot cards. That's actually how we know that they're older, because they're buried. The truth of them is buried far deeper.
Wow, this is just absolutely fascinating. And to be honest, I'm this is new to me, source cards, but also I don't really have much knowledge of tarot cards, so I was just wondering. I was going to go back for a moment, Vicky. I'm just curious. I know this is kind of out of sequence here, but you're an intuitive healer. Is that you were born with that? I've had intuitive healers on here. I had Wendy Adams on, and she's a medical intuitive healer. And I was having an issue with my ear, and I didn't even tell her. And she did a healing on it, on the show. I mean, can you do stuff like that?
Yeah, so I was intuitive very young age. I just knew things. And then about people, about interactions, about things that were going to happen. And then it wasn't until that time where I did that healing with that specific healer when I had the issue, the medical issue, is that really got me going into that direction to be a healer. And I honed my skills, I would say, really tapping in more and more to my abilities um, to to connect with the energy, to allow, I like to say, like, I connect with God and allow the energy to just wash through me and facilitate. I'm the facilitator through intention. So if this person wants to heal and whatever they tell me that they're focusing on that they want to heal, it's like I hold that intention with them and allow the energy to move, allow the energy to clear that doesn't serve the person anymore through the intention, helping people let go of the belief systems that they have about themselves, other people, and life, which I do feel is the root of the imbalances of issues, of medical issues, of physical issues, of mental, emotional, imbalances. It's all stems from what people believe, So I really, started to like meditation is a big part of it for me. I do long distance healings. I can just kind of tune into somebody's energy field as soon as I close my eyes, like can go there. And one of the things actually that really got me to do it as I was on that journey of learning was I had a friend of mine say to me that her son was having nightmares. He was terrified to sleep. He was having terrible nightmares. And she said to me, I know you can do it. I know you can just clear the nightmares. Just do it. And I was like, okay. So I went into a meditation and I connected with him and I asked for Source God to give him a healing to clear whatever was happening for him, like whatever the root was of him having nightmares. And I saw all this energy like on my mind screen, like I could see it on, like as if you like were, if I said to you, imagine you're on the beach right now. That's how I see things. It's like in my imagination on my mind screen. I see all this energy just moving out of his energy body. I see his energy, and then I see like this dark energy, and I see all this energy moving out, and then I see all this light, and he's surrounded in light. And I was like, okay, that looks good. It's done. So I said, okay, I did it, to my friend. And that was it. He never had them again.
Wow. I find it interesting. You said that you look at yourself as a facilitator because that's so funny. That's how I see myself as a facilitator. I have guests who had these amazing cosmic, Kundalini awakenings and everything, and I'm just sitting here tapping a pencil. Okay, I'm just letting people this come through me too, so people can know. But
Yeah.
wow, we've been having an absolutely amazing, mind-blowing conversation with Alexander Dunlop and Vicky Scudderi. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being on the show. I just want to check in with you now. On your website, I see that you'll do one-on-one work with people, but I think I saw you doing workshops and things online too. Like what?
Yeah, we do. We teach classes. We have group programs. We have individual programs. We have a community of people who are playing along every day in what we call the daily game. Like, every day there are cards to play. So for instance, as of recording this show on the day we're recording it, it's a 10 of clubs day today.
Oh,
Somebody born today, this is their birth card. The rest of us are passing through this energy frequency just for the day, and we will experience that energy just for the day. So it's why people have similar experiences on the same day. I can't believe what kind of day I had. I can't believe what kind of day I had. We're all passing through the same energy frequency. So we've created a program for people to play along every day in community and play the game of life, literally, every single day.
wow, amazing. And once again, your website is?
So it's thesourcecards.com. And I would recommend obviously starting by entering the birthday and seeing your first 2 cards to play. And then to go deeper, getting Alexander's book, where, that's the overview of all the 13, plus cards in one's life path, which shows the different aspects of one's human being, like the challenges and the gifts and the shadow side. Like, it's all in there, So the book is a great place to start.
Absolutely. This has just been over the moon, wild and crazy, beautiful information. I love it. And I thank you for blessing us and having you two here on World Awakenings.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for doing what you're doing. We feel, so important for the world to awaken to what else there could be. We need answers from different levels. We need to switch the paradigm up. We need to awaken to what's possible. And so thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Carl, because to me, you are absolutely playing your cards right, because you are a channel of wisdom, a channel of consciousness, holding the space for people and being a facilitator, as you said. So thank you, and thank you for having us.
Well, I love that. When I'm sitting there drinking a beer tonight, man, I'm a channel of wisdom. Woohoo!
You can be, even when you're drinking beer.
Perfect. I love that.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified Law of Attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.